together. Although if you're not going to things like Boston Indies or Boston Postmortem, you're really doing yourself a disservice, and we can talk about that later. It's going to be more about skills that would be helpful for you that you aren't necessarily learning in your classes, although I don't know much about NEIA's curriculum. Things that will be useful to you when you're actually in the workplace and having to communicate to people. And then also this talk is kind of designed to have kind of portions that are easily break apartable. So ask questions, assuming there isn't any time shenanigans. Assuming there aren't any time shenanigans, I'll ask your questions as you have them. I'll answer your questions. There you go. So first we're going to talk about 3 different models of game development. Large, medium, small, and what your role as an artist would be in these different models. The first one is the large model. Obviously you have your BioWares and making Mass Effect, and you have your Naughty Dogs making Uncharted. In these models, you would have a very specific job. Not only would you be the artist concerned with making textures, you would be the artist concerned with making textures for all the weapons in the game. Or in Uncharted 3, it's happening in a desert, so you would be part of the team that was sole purpose was to make sure the sand looked as awesome as possible throughout the game. And some people like to specialize that much, and if that's what you want to do, you're probably going to want to go to a larger studio. And another important thing too is that you're probably going to be managed by other artists. You're going to have someone in your team you could talk to senior than you, and that can have interesting things to do with communication. Next you have your medium model, where you're going to have a little bit less specialization, where you will be hired as kind of a 3D modeler, but some days they might say, hey, we actually need you to really help out on doing art for our UI. This is where Demiurge, the company I used to work at, was. You're going to have more cross-pollination across different disciplines. You're going to have more interaction with the programmers, the designers, the sound people on your team. But you're still going to have at least one more person more senior than you on the team that you can run through problems of like what order casting can be done in and stuff like that. And then finally you have the small model, which is where Nazi Production is at, and where a lot of kind of indie developers are at, where you're pretty much in charge of everything. Pretty much Jen did everything on the screen. If it isn't a font, Jen's in charge of it. So you're going to be talking directly to all the other disciplines, and you're probably the only artist on the team, and you have to talk directly to people who don't necessarily speak French. Any questions?
How long was SimSofer in development?
SimSofer was in development for about 6 months, on and off, and then I got Jen, Don Marie, our sound person, and Eric, our level designer, worked on it for a total of about 2 months.
That's 3 months.
3 months. 3 months. So it was a really breakneck pace.
But it was like 2 months of solid work.
Yeah. So, yes?
I'm going to ask Jen this question again later, but I thought I'd ask you as well. Do you have any suggestions for artists when working with non-artists?
I have an entire set of slides later in this talk where I talk about that. So I'll give you guys something to look forward to. So in today's talk, I'm going to be focusing on the small model because that's where Anansi Productions is, and I think that's what will set you up to succeed in all the other models. But feel free to ask me about how things work for the other larger models. I do have experience at EA, and I do have experience at